Greetings, students, and welcome to another fun-filled day here at
Horror in the Halls.
What's up, kids, and welcome to Horror in the Halls. I'm Bob, aka Mr. Holland.
And I'm Jenny, aka Mrs. Hill.
And we're just two high school teachers educating the masses on the spooky stuff we love. The lesson plan for June is taking us on a field trip to Shadyside, so step out of your internet fantasy nerdland and join us as we delve into 2021's Fear Street 1994. What's up, Jenny? You picked these.
Yep.
You so
I sure
excited?
did. I am. Even though you're not, it doesn't seem.
I'm not unexcited.
All of a sudden.
Or whatever. Anyway. So Fear Street 1994 came out 2021. It was originally released, I think, premiered June 28th. The official Netflix release was July 2nd. I think originally they wanted a theatrical release but could not get it. Has a running time of 107 minutes. Directed by Lee Janiak, I think is how you say her last name. She's a one of her first big early roles, I guess. She didn't do a whole lot of things before this. Honeymoon, she did a couple episodes of the Scream TV series, one episode of Outcast, another TV show, and then straight into Fear Street. She, of course, directed all three of them, so you'll see her her fingerprints on all of them. It's written by Phil Grazaday and Lee Janiak herself. Apparently she based a lot of kind of the characterizations and how they acted, especially in this first one, on her own childhood, because she was a teenager in 1994, as most of us were, I think, or young, I guess. Story by her, Kyle Killian, and Phil Grazaday. Of course, it's based on the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine. You know, I'm sure we all read that in our youths. Cinematography is Caleb Heyman. This guy did pretty much all of Stranger Things, so I think that's why it looks so similar. Also, they're both for Netflix, so of course, you know, they kind of use the same guy. It looks very much like if you put Stranger Things into a movie. That's why you got some characterizations carry over. Looks great. It's got an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes for critics, 62 for audience, and 3.2 on Letterboxd. That's pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
The cast is Kiana Madeira, that's as Dina Johnson, Olivia Scott Welch as Samantha Frazier, Benjamin Flores Jr. as Josh Johnson, Julia Raywald as Kate Schmidt, Fred Hetchinger as Simon, he's funny, Ashley Zuckerman as Nick Good, Daryl Britt Gibson as Martin, Maya Hawke as Heather Watkins, Jordana Shapiro as Miss Lane, Jordan Natalie as Ruby Lane. She was awesome. Charlie Ammonia as Rachel Thompson, the Sunnyvale customer, which is random. David W. Thompson, Ryan Torres. I like that dude. Jeremy Ford as Peter. You got Elizabeth Scopel as Sarah Fear. And Gillian Jacobs as C. Berman. Good, decent cast. A lot of young characters. They did a good job, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The effects of this in this show is really good. Or this movie, rather. Of course, it was done by Christopher Allen Nelson. And that dude, once we get into a little bit of the stuff on his IMDb, is like 100 credits long. It's nuts. He's done so many major things. You may know him. It's 109. You may know him as the Jack-o'-lantern head from Halloween 2018, as he was the sheriff. He also did makeup on Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. So that's probably why he made a Jack-o'-lantern head of himself, like the weird cop holding his own head. That's him. I mean, he did Thor, Love and Thunder, Day Shift, all three Fear Streets. He did effects on the Mandalorian, Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel. He's done American Horror Story, Bright, Avengers Infinity War, The Walking Dead, Suicide Squad. He did Deadpool. He did makeup for Goosebumps, From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. I mean, the guy's credits are nuts. Ton of Marvel movies. He's done some Teen Wolf. Just a lot of stuff. Amazing Spider-Man, True Blood. He did some work on Sin City, Land of the Dead, Masters of Horror. So he's just done a lot of. He did Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. So a lot of that like hyper violence, the cuts, the blood was all really good. So he did a good job, as you can tell. Like I said, I keep scrolling back through this, and it just has just so much of like old school stuff. Like he did effects for The Dentist, Bordello of Blood, Night of the Demons 2. His first thing was Batman Returns, just random. But then he did Warlock, The Dark Half, Return of the Living Dead 3, which is like my favorite one. So this guy's done a ton of stuff. He's got some definite cred. So that's why I think the effects look so good in this. So I will say, of some of the things I don't like, the effects, the masks, the makeups all look awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
And I really like those. So what'd you think, man? You wanted to do Fear Street. You wanted to take us to the trip to the iconic road that's not in the movie. So what did you want to do?
I just really think like all three of them are solid movies. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I like the story, how it progresses over the three. There's, I like one more than the others, but I mean, essentially, this one kind of reminds me a lot of like I kept like seeing stuff that I didn't notice the first time I watched it. So like stuff that reminded me of Scream.
Oh, 100%.
There was a shot they do that's very much Stranger Things, which was funny that you mentioned it. But I have it in my notes. And I'll get to that later. But I mean, it's just a good, like a fun movie to watch. Like I just really enjoy watching these.
Yeah, I think it's a solid, just like, step back, just turn something on, horror film. There's a lot of things that are, I think, directly taken from Scream. Like the whole opening of this movie is almost a direct
Yeah.
rip off of Scream. You have a big actor that everybody knows, just like Drew Barrymore. She gets a phone call, some weird stuff happens. You have a mass killer, down to the scene where she's running away and he stabs her in the back is like a direct, almost shot for shot reproduction of when Drew Barrymore's character gets killed in Scream. Except for
Yeah.
she
And
gets
then
stabbed in the chest and not the back. I mean, but even the running next to her, same shot.
why in the school scene with
Yeah.
the
Kid
instead
running
of
down the
the
hallway.
costume, it's the kid running with the man, like the little blow
Yeah.
up doll or whatever it was.
Yep. And a lot of those characters are straight. You got the Simon character is definitely Stu Macher. There's a lot of Scream in this movie, which is I'm fine with. I think it's hard not to take a movie, a horror film based on this age group in this time period and not make it seem like Scream. I think they could have done a little less of like almost direct, even like down to the point where, yeah, you picked a skull mask. And I get why they picked that mask because it's kind of based on one of R.L. Stein's Goosebumps characters' masks. And he said in an interview he wanted it to look like something you would get at that store. Like he just picked up a mask and put it on.
Yeah.
Just like the Scream mask, just like the Halloween mask. It was something that
Something
was just
everybody could
there.
go get.
Yeah, you could
Something
just
mass
grab.
produced.
Yeah, and that's what he wanted. He did a good job at that. It's a great mask. If they ever make one that's not latex, I will buy one. I love the skull mask. It looks great. Obviously, it was designed by a really good makeup effects guy, so it looks great. But there's just certain parts of the story that I think are kind of weird and don't make sense. Like you tried to pull some Scream, and then you tried to do something else. And I just didn't understand what the purpose was in some respects. Like why'd you do that? But I did like overall, like the death scenes look great. I like the whole scene at the beginning looks nice. I think it's funny, a little nod to R.L. Stein. All those books are written by Robert Lawrence, and that's what R.L. stands for. And R.L. Stein, that's his name. It's Robert Lawrence Stein. So like that was kind of cool that they have that little nod to him there. Some of those titles are titles of actual Fear Street books. Because it was kind of a prolific series, right? Because I mean, he had all those Goosebumps
Yeah.
books, and then he wrote Fear Street, which was for the older kids. Really, it was for the kids who started with Goosebumps and kind of aged out, right? To keep writing for them,
Yeah.
which would be kind of gateway horror for a lot of us. Really, it was Scooby Doo and Goosebumps were kind of like our introductions, I think, to the horror realm for kids a little bit younger than I am, like my brother and my sister. My mom just let me watch Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff, but whatever. I turned out okay, I think. But yeah. I really like it. It's good stuff. Yeah, I think the book they talk about where she calls it lowbrow trash was the wrong number, and it was actually a 1990 Fear Street book, but was not actually written by R.L. Stein, written by Simon Pulse. But the main character in that book's name is Dina, so I thought that was kind of interesting. Which I got to say, I hate Dina's character in this show. It's the one thing about this thing that I really don't like. She's terrible.
Well, I don't think you're really supposed to like her very much at first.
She never redeems herself. I never like her.
I mean, she's like an angsty teenager. Most of those you don't like. We work with them all the time.
I know, she's her and Samantha I don't like as main characters. I liked Simon. He was weird and funny. I think Josh is awesome with his Iron Maiden
Josh is my favorite character.
Oh, he's the best.
You had to have something that propels the story.
He's Randy.
What?
Josh's character is Randy from Scream.
Oh.
That is him.
Well, yeah, because he knows all the information that's regarding like what's going on.
He's kind of the outcast kid that knows everything, and he goes for it. Yeah, there's just so many things I think are interesting, and like I said, I do like it. It's not bad at all. It's definitely, you can tell it's based on a story for teenagers. It's not based on any particular Fear Street. It's just characters and story ideas taken from it. Sarah Fear is there. They never actually go to Fear Street or show Fear Street. I know in the book series, everything takes place on Fear Street, but now it's just all of Shadyside is affected. And that's one thing I like as you delve into, you talk about the other movies, you get more into that backstory and it makes you like what happens better. But like, I was trying to watch this as someone who had not seen the other two, and a lot of it doesn't make any sense when you don't connect all three together. Now, granted, you're supposed to watch all three together. I mean, they were released a week apart. They were all filmed at the exact same time. They shot them all together. So, I mean, I get that. It's just hard to look at it as a standalone. Like some of the stuff that bothered me the most was like how in the very beginning he just kills at random, and then they're only hunting for old girl's blood, and then the hospital he just kills at random, trying to find her, but he's just killing whoever else is there. Then in the school, all those killers walk right past the kids, just looking for Sam's character. I'm like, why? At one point, and then later on, they come back, and I guess they're wearing their blood later, and then they just randomly start killing people again. I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, if you're only after this one character, like, why'd they kill the nurses and the doctors or the people with the mall?
The end of it wasn't random, but yeah, the beginning and like
that part
some
was
of the,
not, but the whole middle is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it might be more of an oversight, I think.
Yeah.
In the story, it's just a plot hole that didn't work out very well but on the same token, I don't want to give anything away from the other movies, but it does it in the second one too.
I know. It's like, wow.
So,
well, that's kind of one of their plot devices. Like, they're only after this person, and I get that, but it doesn't seem to hold up across the whole film. And great, I don't mind because the kills look. I wish some of those kills were on screen. That's the second part. Like, they kill people for no reason, and they're not even on screen. They're just dead bodies. Like, why? It'd be one thing if they showed them, like with Nurse Betty, right? How he kind of goes up to him and gets killed. But the other nurse, did she stop him? What happened? You don't know. She's just dead. You have to assume. And this is kind of silly. Or the boyfriend, he gets killed. He kills him for no reason. He's just there. Peter, which he sucks. He probably deserved to die. But it's just like, you know what I mean? It's like for no reason.
Yeah, that's a plot hole in the story that doesn't get explained.
No, ever. Not even through all three films.
Yeah. I mean, I just looked over that because I just like watching the movies, but
yeah, no, they're good. They're great movies, and there's some good continuity between the three. Like how, like, oh my gosh, Kate, her kids she's babysitting, and they're like bagging her drugs for her is the most ridiculous thing ever. But she's like, "I'll let you watch my so-called life with me." But then she drops them off to Nurse Lang, which is Ruby Lane's mom, which was kind of cool. And like, you know, and there's a lot of like continuity things that I like. I wish they'd have made more of them. I'd like to see a movie about the time frame of every killer. Like that little kid, Billy, has the creepiest mask ever. And I would like to see that dude with the little kid with the bat. That mask is so creepy.
Johnny was saying that he would like to see Ruby Lane's story.
Yeah, because she bring her up, you don't even know. The only ones you see are Skull, Nightwing camp, and then the original. Give me some of the middle ones, dude. Give me that weird drifter with that weird mask that makes no sense, and like the little kid who's obviously the creepiest face ever.
The milkman or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you see them in the other movies, like they come out as killers. They use them all, but I want to see them. Like I want to know their stories, which that'd be cool. I think because those are all great makeups. Like I really like the Camp Nightwing killer. He has that like old school like scarecrow mask, but it looks really good. Ruby Lane's makeup was really cool. She looked real 50s, had that cool scar on her face. It looked good. That little
Yeah.
kid is creepy as hell. Like the
Like,
deformed little kid.
Any kids are usually creepy,
I
but
know.
yeah, he was really, the mask was just gross.
I know. In the scene they show him in this one where he's just like pelting that person with a bat, you're like, that's way scarier than every other thing in this movie. Like, why is that kid doing that? But no, there's just so many weird things. I get why they did it. It's just silly. Like, why are Seraphir's bones right under some moss in the woods? Like, if this is like a 700-year-old or whatever, like local legend, no one has found those yet. What? There's conveniently a big old lock that has fear written on it. Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. It's just there to be there. Of course, it's me nitpicking a horror movie. Like I said, if I get into the deets, I mean, it's overall good. It's got a real Stranger Things vibe, which I like. I mean, there's some other things like half the songs they picked in this movie didn't come out until after 1994, but whatever. Like almost every song in this movie wasn't released until after. Like, I'm Only Happy When It Rains and More Human Than Human, 1995. You're a Woman by Whitetown, 97. Machine Head was on their 94 album, but wasn't released as a single until 96. Firestarter by The Prodigy, which I love The Prodigy, so I was stoked that was in that. Also 1996. So it's like, okay. The music's a little ADHD, but
I thought it was well placed. I think that the soundtrack, I'm sure it wasn't the right dates, but that's really nitpicky.
it is. It's me being extra nitpicky. I don't even
That's
care that I'm
being
the right
extra.
dates. The only thing I didn't like about, I love the song choices. But in the opening, like 10 minutes, they're just like song, 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 and they change so fast. There was a little ADHD with the music. But the song choices are great. Because as a person who's 40 now, to me, those songs are just quintessential 90s songs. So it's fine.
Yeah, but they all suited the character and whatever was going on in the scene. So when I get to the rubric part, to me, that will score high.
Yeah, I won't nitpick it too much for being the wrong time period. I was just pointing it out. Just a fun fact.
Yeah.
And I like it throughout the rest of the film. It's just that opening scene where they change so fast. Like the songs just change really quick. There's like 7 songs in the first 10 minutes. Because it'll go from like one song character, then it switches to a completely different song. And I don't think you would notice as much if they weren't like completely different iconic songs.
It didn't bother me though.
I don't know. It just stood out to me.
It
It goes from
it
like
just bothered you.
like 9 Inch Nails to Garbage to this to that. And it's fine like when you see Josh and he's listening to like Rob Zombie. But that fits his character. And it would have been fine. I think there's just
I'm
too
Only
many
Happy When
iconic
It
songs in a
Rains
row.
was in her headphones, and she is a rain cloud.
100%, dude. She was definitely a whole fan. Showed her mouth weird too, which is why I don't like her. I have a weird thing about that. You know, another fun fact: Shadyside, Ohio, is a real place, and like all the towns around them are. There isn't a Sunnyvale or whatever, but the towns around them have the same mascot, and they are rivals with Shadyside. I don't think their mascot is a witch. That'd be cool if they were, but be interesting. No, I didn't hate it. It's good. I like Josh.
I feel like you just really hate the teenagers because you typically teenagers suck, man. Like we teach them every day.
No, I don't hate the teenagers. It's just the main girl. They're annoying. I love Josh.
No,
He was
I'm saying
awesome.
like
Simon was great.
You don't like Peter. I mean,
he was kind of a dick though. His character was a dick. It wasn't because he was a teenager. He was just an asshole. He sucked.
But they all sucked. Just about. The only one that really didn't was Josh.
Josh, yeah. And I mean, Kate was okay. Well, this is why I don't like her. Look, her main drive was that girl. You almost got your own little brother murdered to save your girlfriend. You suck. Your 2 best friends murdered to save your girlfriend who left you for a dude. Your little brother almost gets axed to death so you can save your girlfriend. She sucks.
She's selfish.
Yeah, she's just selfish. She sucks. That's why I didn't like her. I mean, one thing, like, I would kill almost anybody for my little brother, especially back then. Now she's like, no, I gotta save my love of my life. Like, you're like 15, dog. I'm gonna need you to chill out, Dina. And then she comes back and
I
tries to
know.
murder her.
I guess I'm looking at a different perspective here because she's at an age where her whole life is that person.
Yeah, because she's
And
lying.
I have a child who has acted like that before, and I'm like, you stop. But it's frustrating, but it's a part of growing up where no one else matters. But that's what I'm saying. She's not supposed to be your favorite.
Well,
You're supposed to be frustrated with her.
They were successful
because of her age group and like the fact that she is in love with somebody who broke her heart into 1,000 pieces. And,
yeah,
you know,
I mean, I was fine with all the stuff she did until that last scene. Because I'm just like, you literally sacrificed your homies almost twice for your girlfriend.
Well, yeah.
Because you suck at life.
I don't want to make this whole episode about Dina, though, because she's really not, there's so many good things about the movie.
There are. Like, Maya Hawke's character is great. The mall made me sad and reminisce. I wanted to go to a mall like that so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Although I understand why Mr. Torres went crazy. If I had to work in a store that was black lights all the time, I'd probably want to kill people too. I couldn't be in that all day long. It was like when they go in his store and everything's glowing, I'm like, oh, that's the most 90s thing ever. It made me want to throw up. But I miss going to bookstores in the malls. And when he gave her an Orange Julius, I think I shed a little tear because that's my favorite thing ever. And I was like,
yeah, those are good.
Oh, man. Please bring those back. I would love to have. I remember we used to go to J Mall just to get Orange Julius on like a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where are we going? We're going over here, but I got to stop at the mall. For what? Because I'm going to need an Orange Julius today. That's one of the first things I did when I got a car. I went to the mall to get Orange Julius.
That's why I like going out to the E-Town Mall because it almost looks like it's stuck in time.
It looks like a 90s mall.
For real. It does because it looks like it has the little fountain areas and like the little sitting areas and stuff. And like it looks like the old J Mall used to look like.
I haven't been there in a super long time. I'll have to go. Did I ever tell you the funny story about the J Mall
There's
fountain?
not a lot going on in there, but.
Oh, I know. My daughter complains about it all the time. Lucy's forever like, this mall sucks. There's nothing in here. It's just arcades and stupid stuff. I got kicked out of the J Mall one time for riding a tiny mini bike down the ramps at the water fountain, wearing a propeller hat. It was funny.
Of course you did.
But it was funny. They kicked me out, but I was working at the time at Spencer's. So I just had to go out of the mall and then come back in the back door at Spencer's to go back to work. They were so mad. I was like, I'm on the clock, dog. Because my friend was my manager, and he was like, I was like, hey, Steve, I'm going to ride this bike in the mall. He was like, yeah, you are. And all of our buddies were watching me.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm pedaling this tiny bike that was like 2 feet tall or something. It was a little tiny circus bike. I don't even know how I got on it, but I rode it from Spencer's all the way to the ramp where the Starbucks was, like where the Dillard's and stuff used to be. I was like, yeah. And then I fell over down in that ramp because I went going too fast. Security guards were angry. They were like, get off the bike, get off the bike. I'm like, can't do it. It was good times. But no, like, it did make me sad. I love the mall scenes. I think even the fact that they kind of ripped off Scream a little bit, it looked really cool. Like when he's running behind her like that. And Maya Hawke is a stellar actress. So I liked it.
Yeah.
I like her a lot. She did a good job. I even like the Ryan Torres guy because he was kind of funny. Like, when he named his little doll Deborah, he's like, couldn't name her big tits. It was a little sad. And she's just like, something's wrong with you. Give me a ride home later. And he's like, okay. He was just like a goofy mall employee. It made sense.
Yeah.
And that store very much reminded me of Spencer's with like black lights and lava lamps. And so I think she hits him over the head with the lava lamp at one point too, which just made me laugh because it was like kind of like, reminiscent. I'm not trying to completely shit on it. Like, I didn't hate the movie. I just didn't like Dina. Like every other kid,
you're not
really.
Supposed to like Dina. You fuss at me a lot when you're like, well, you're not supposed to like that person.
Well, you're right.
Not supposed to like her.
They succeeded because she's annoying.
They did succeed. That is her character. She is not likable. She sucks. She's selfish. Like everything she's done is driven by what Sam is doing.
I'm telling you, I'd ended this movie quick. That one time at the school when they were all coming back and Sam tried to sacrifice herself, I'd have kicked both their asses out that door and called it a wrap. We're leaving. Well, bye now. Go die with your girlfriend. You love her so much.
And to be fair, they could have walked away at any point, and Sam gave them an out, and they didn't take it.
It is their fault. But Old Girl got her head cut into many pieces.
I know, it sucks. I really liked those 2 characters, but essentially, they made the decision to stay.
Yeah, they're stupid.
And because she said, "You all could just leave right now."
They should have.
And they were like, "But we're not gonna leave you." Like,
I'd have dipped.
so
Bye. Bye now.
I would have dipped too. I ain't trying to get murdered
No.
for you.
I
No
don't even
thanks.
know you. I don't even like you. Get out of my face. But yeah, no, I'd have left. 100%.
Yeah, I liked their characters. I thought they were really cool characters.
Yeah.
They all
I
kind of
agree.
sucked at points, but they are all ridiculous teenagers.
They are.
So
Simon was funny
it's
because
still-
with the cops, he's like, "Fuck you, pig!" And in the moment that dude's in her house, like, "Shh, shh, come here, we're gonna die." Like, he's all scared, but he tried to act all tough. He's like, "Stop it!" He's like filthy high schooler. It's, like I said, it's not a bad movie. There's stuff that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's fine because it's a horror movie. Most horror movies don't make a lot of sense. I think the special effects make up for a lot of the downfalls of the movie because they're great.
Jason Goes to Hell made absolutely zero,
none at all.
zilch,
100%.
no sense whatsoever.
No.
But you were gonna die on the hill if that movie was so fun and good to watch.
It was funny because it's so bad.
Oh my
This
gosh.
one's like almost there. It's almost so bad that it's funny, but it's actually
It's
not bad.
that bad. It's
No,
not
it's
bad.
not. It's not. It could have been better, but it's not
And
bad.
honestly, it's not fair. Like, okay, the problem is you have to watch all 3 to get the full story. So there are plot holes that are very noticeable. However, it does wrap up most of the
But not all of
story
them.
by the end.
You get
What?
some good story. It doesn't wrap up all the plot holes. Like how the killer selections are
I
not
didn't say it
ever
wrapped up all the
explained.
plot holes. I said it wrapped up like what's
No.
going on. Like you understand the story
And
by
I like
the
it.
end.
I like the
Mhm.
overall story. I think all together it's a great trilogy of films because it does have a
Yes.
good cohesive story. There's just parts I feel like that are almost like filler in each episode just to be like, let's go back to the 80s and 90s horrors. This one is definitely a 90s horror trope. The second one is an 80s horror trope. And then the third one, they just said, let's get
I
it.
love. I thought it was great.
Oh, I do too. It's my favorite one.
So-
Plus, it's got Sadie Sink in it, and she's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I love Stranger Things, so it has a very Stranger Things vibe.
Yeah. Let me see if there's anything.
Oh, did you count the doll on your titty tally?
I didn't really. I said only cover titties
Yeah.
on my titty tally.
I mean, we had
There were a lot, but they were all covered.
we had two blow up doll titties, and then a bunch of covered boobs.
Yeah.
It's another scene. Did you all go to Pound Town? Me too, idiot. Kid was dumb.
There was a quote. Oh, I laughed so hard because Josh, he goes in there to get Dina out of her room, and she's like, "Get out of my room," and he was like, "You get out of your room. You've been in here all day." And I was like, "That's so funny." I don't know why that made me laugh. I was like, "I love him. You get out of your room. You've been in here all day." Like,
It make you feel like something Parker would say.
yeah, it was. It would be.
You get out of your room. I like
Parker
him.
got one.
He's my
Hayden
spirit
was
animal.
on Parker's bed one time, and he was like, he said, "Oh my gosh, I have," or shit, it was something about being trash being in his room, and he was like, "It's actually on my bed," and it was Hayden or something stupid.
Yeah.
I was like, "What?" And Hayden goes, "Oh dang," he goes, "That was actually pretty good." He was like laughing because he was like not expecting Parker to call him trash. I was like, "Oh my gosh,
You got me. You got me.
It was funnier the way that he said it, but I can't remember exactly. It was funny, but it is that quote was definitely a Parker quote for sure, and that's probably why I laughed.
His character kind of reminded me of Oliver and Parker a little bit, just kind of like a little quiet, shy kid. He's on the internet talking to some random person that the Queen of Air and Darkness, some rando who wants to be Mab so
and
bad.
I made note of that because that is a Cassandra Clare book, and I don't know if that was done purposely or not.
Well, it's also what they call the Queen of the Dark Court of Fairies. She's the Queen of Air and Darkness. Like Mab, the Queen of the Fairies, that's what she's called. That's her title.
Okay.
Just like the other one is like the Queen of Light and something else. It's because you know how like in like because she's also in the Harry Dresden books. Like she's a character in the Harry Dresden books, and that's how they're addressed.
Okay.
It's Queen Mab, the Queen of Air and Darkness. But she's the queen of the dark court of the fairies.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's Cassandra Clarebeck.
Yeah. It could have been.
Anyway.
Could have been a little nod. It fits that time period. But it's also very much that early internet time period, too. Like, let me pick some really super edgy name.
Well, the Queen of Air and Darkness was, that book was 2021, I think.
I know. I'm just saying those are from, it's a very, it might have been because it was 2021. That's when this movie came out. So it could have very well been like a little nod.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I just thought it was interesting. I was like, oh man. But if it's a character that has been around for a while, whatever.
Yeah.
But I liked that he was on that little chat room and like he was like, it wasn't like that he was doing anything really weird. It was just like he was like a conspiracy theorist about what was going on in the area. But it was cool to see his little map with all the
little board.
He was a little bored with all the different killers on it, and the killers were really creative. I liked that.
They are. I do enjoy those. And they fit their time periods, the way they kill and how they look. It's just cool.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I would like to have gotten some type of like more in-depth flashback occasionally of the ones that they showed. But like obviously one of them you get a whole movie. But it would have been cool to see a little bit more of Ruby.
Yeah.
Doing something. And in the credits in the beginning, it kind of gives you a little bit of backstory through the newspapers and like the like pictures of like the 1600s or whatever. So, and I didn't even notice that the first time.
Yeah, it's there if you pay attention. Yeah, I like it.
So it kind of gives you a little bit, without you even thinking about it. Because a lot of times you don't pay attention to those like credits at the beginning. Yeah, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't.
You almost have to.
So, yeah.
It's like the beginning of one of the Texas Chainsaws when you have all that like police stuff and you catch things in that. Or like if you pay attention to the beginning of Tucker and Dale, you kind of figure out what happens at the end. You know what I mean? So it's all about paying attention to the beginning.
Mm-hmm. I really, really liked the grocery store scene or the part of the grocery store. I thought that whole thing was well done with all the different killers coming in and how they set that up. And it sucks the way they died, but they died in kind of like very gruesome, like cool ways. And you get to see it. And I thought those effects were done really well.
Oh yeah.
Especially what's her name? Kate.
Yeah, Kate is the best.
I hated the way Kate died, but man, that was a really brutal scene.
Yes, it was. I hated that she died at all.
Oh, yeah, it sucks. And it sucks that both of them died, and they were quick too. It was like back to back, real fast.
Yeah.
Like, daggone it! I was expecting somebody to go. I was really worried that Josh was gonna die, and I was gonna be like, "I hate you, Dina. This is all your fault."
Mm-hmm.
But he did survive, thank goodness.
I know for him,
extra angry.
That's the one thing that bothered me at the end. I've been so mad at my sister. And at the end, he's like, I just ordered pizza. It's cool. I've been like, you almost got me killed today. Order me pizza. I hate you. You suck. I hope Sam drowns.
I hate you.
You suck. And she does, man. So let's get in. Before we get into the rubric, let's do my little roll call of death real quick. There's 22 deaths total in this. 15 are on screen and 7 are mentioned in the backstory or killed off screen. So there's 3 found dead mall victims that we see.
Yeah.
They're slashed and stabbed, all beat up, right? And then you have Ryan Torres and Heather Watkins. They die at the same time because she dies. The sheriff shoots Ryan in the face. She gets stabbed by Ryan. Poor Peter gets stabbed through the back by the skull mask. So there's not a death. Like that's like 7. The very beginning is those deaths. Then no one else dies until like 40 minutes into this movie. And then you got Peter and Stephanie are both killed. Nurse Betty is stabbed. Let's see. Then they show a flashback of Ruby Lane's friend getting her throat slit. Then they show the 50s housewife getting stabbed by the milkman. That's a flashback. You got Billy Barker's brother. It's that little kid when he's beaten to death with a baseball bat. That is the craziest scene in this whole movie. the grifter victim with him drowning that person. Then you get Kate, whose head gets shoved through a bread slicer. Which, fun fact, they were like, that will not work, until someone was like, yes, it will, and they shoved a watermelon through it to prove that it would cut through a human skull. And they were like, okay, it does work. Let's do it. Because they didn't think that would logically make sense that it would cut through a human
Okay.
head. And they were like, oh, really? Watch this. And they cut a whole watermelon up with it. And then it showed that it did it. Simon dies. He gets hacked in the head with an axe, which is like 100% a horror trope. It was very good. His little face when it happens is funny. He's like, oh, he just has that like rut-row raggy face. Of course, Sam gets drowned in lobster pee, which I don't know why they didn't just do that from the beginning, but whatever.
Right.
Although it is harder, like their plan was to bring her back with epinephrine. That would not work for drowning, so that's why she stabs her and nothing happens. Then, of course, the paper talks about 2 other mall employees that were killed, so they're one of the ones off-screen deaths. We only see 3, but apparently there were 5 or 7 people total died at the mall, according to what
Did
the
you count
sheriff
the
says.
nurse at the hospital?
Yeah, she's
No, the nurse.
That's Betty.
He-
Nurse Betty
There's
is
a
the
man.
dude. Yeah, it's Eddie with a
Okay.
B scratched in between. They call him Nurse Betty. He's wearing eyeshadow and
Okay.
stuff. It's 90s, man. Betty's the one that's like her drug dealer, essentially, or her drug supplier. Yeah. He's the one you see. The other nurse, Stephanie, gets stabbed off screen.
Okay, I didn't know that's what you said.
Yeah. I said Betty because his name was actually Eddie, but they call him Nurse Betty.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's another woman, Christina Marlowe, was killed off screen. It's only mentioned. Jessica Van killed off screen. It's only mentioned. Simon's brother, he comes back to life. He doesn't want to count. Then there's the rest of them are Ruby. So Ruby's other friend, they talk about her. I think Josh tells the story. Her boyfriend gets stabbed to death with a straight razor, which is pretty serious to get stabbed with a straight razor. And then Ruby herself is like the final death they talk about because she kills herself. They don't talk about or vision anyone else's death. Of course, Sam comes back, but she does technically die. And then she's crazy at the end, that nonsense. I do like that
She's
scene
like-
a whole lot when she's like, oh, it's okay. You should have called me earlier. And then she just stabs her with that drumstick that they 100% foreshadowed when they're laying in bed. And that scene comes through and you see that drumstick. I'm like, and I'd forgot that scene. So I was like, why'd they kind of slow down? And it's, oh, okay. That's your weapon of choice. So that was pretty cool. It was a cool scene. I liked it. But yeah, so 22 total deaths. I mean, pretty good. I think 15 of them we get to mostly see. There's not a lot of like you see brutal killing, but the ones you do are really well done. And we'll talk about that on the rubric because some of it I really enjoyed. Like that bread slicer thing is awesome. So let's jump into the rubric, give this bad boy a grade. So literary element, script, story development, dialogue, character development. And I mean, for me, I know you're the English teacher, so I'm thinking 15, but that's just me. I'm pretty harsh on this movie.
I think you're being really, really harsh on this one.
On a 15?
There are a couple of plot holes, but essentially there is development. There's character development in it, especially with Josh. Because Josh is kind of worthless at the beginning. All he does is sit on his computer.
Yeah, well,
he
because
turns
he's
into
like
a badass
shy
at
and
the
whatnot.
end.
He's all
I think it goes beyond that. I think he's just he's hiding away in the basement because of the trauma that they're both facing.
Yeah.
Because they live with an abusive dad, an alcoholic dad.
Yeah. I guess it's never implied that he's abusive, just that he's a drunk. Right?
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
But he is kind of hiding away in the basement, but like he comes out of a shell, and a lot of it is thankfully due to Kate and Simon, who help him through that. And they were kind of shitty to him at the beginning because they thought he was just a little loser and like made fun of him and stuff. But then they realized that, he's really smart and he's funny and he knows how to do things that other people don't know how to do. So that shows development on their part. Dina is a flat character. She's meant to be flat. She's very selfish. The only thing propelling the story along is her selfishness regarding Sam. There's a little bit of development with Sam at the end too. Like she finally starting to accept herself by the end. It's not much, but it's there. I thought the quote, like the The dialogue was really well done, especially for their age group. I honestly wouldn't give it a 15. I would give it a 20. So if we had something where we had like a rubric where it was like more of a range, and we could do like a middle, we could do that, but we don't. So it's in 5-point increments. But I don't. If I were grading this, the plot holes aren't enough for me to score it a 15 because it's only, to me, knowing that this is a 3-part series, the plot hole is there's only one super noticeable plot hole in this one.
Yeah. I was basing mine more off just the character part because I didn't think all the characters had developed. A lot of it's hinted at. But I get what you're saying. I do think there is some good development with Josh. And I guess if you look at it from the standpoint that Dina's meant to be that way, then I think that's successful. Because I do seriously dislike her all around. I don't like Sam either. But I get where
you're
they're
gonna
coming from,
have
their plight, where it wasn't as accepted. It wasn't accepted at all to be gay in the 90s like it is now. It was accepted in pockets, not in small town Ohio. I seriously doubt. So I did see that. I did appreciate that. It made sense. Like, I understand Sam's reluctance. Dina's was just, her character to me was just annoying. But I did like the rest of them. I did like Kate. I did like how Simon was kind of crappy to Josh. Then at the end, he gave him that whole pep talk about, she likes you. She sees something in you. You're awesome. And that was cool. So yeah, I can agree. I think 20 is more accurate. I was probably being a little harsh with the 15, I guess.
You can't, because you're basing it all on Dina. So episode was like,
Dina,
you just
and some
like, I hate her so much.
Some of the plot points that make no sense, but there were some cool, like when he said the dialogue part, I didn't really think about that. Like, if I step out of it and think about the things, how I hear the kids talk, because the funny thing is like the style and mannerisms right now are from the 90s anyway, like the way these high school kids act. So it like is very much like when they walk into school, that could be walking into our school. Like, it looks very similar. How they're dressed, how they act, very similar to our school. So I was like, okay, other than the kids actually using lockers, but whatever. So yeah, 20's fine. I don't know why we have lockers for real. We should just take them all out.
I know, they should just take them all out. It'd be more room for them to walk anyway.
It's just teacher storage. No kid uses them. I've only seen 3 kids ever use them, and they used them without asking. They just put a lock on a locker because they were like, I don't want to carry all this crap all day. I was like, well, they're there. I mean whatever. It was empty.
I mean, are they going to get mad at them for using them? Like,
I know.
No.
How dare you use a locker? All right, let's jump into the FX design elements. So visual effects elements that connect to the narrative, set design, overall character design, gore, practical versus digital effects. I think this one is off the charts. Of course, Christopher Allen Nelson's great. He's got a ton of experience. I love the masks in this. Like you said, the little kid's mask is creepy as shit. Like, it's so
gross.
like just creepy. And that scene where he's just beating his brother to death is wild looking. You don't see it for very long.
That's a worst nightmare.
That's what I'm saying. That is nightmare fuel. I liked the use of gore in this because it wasn't over until like that spot. Her face got smashed into a cake, and then like they legitimately cut her head into slices like bread, and it looked super good. And then you got to see poor Josh like, oh, I touched her boob earlier, and now he's like, I'll never touch those boobs ever again. He was very sad looking. I felt bad for him. His little face.
I love Josh.
His little sad face.
His little face.
His little sad face. Simon's death was really awesome. Like, that whole, like, he had that shocked look on his face when the axe goes into his head. Like, dang. You know what I mean? And I kind of like that. The effect, and some of it was digital, but digital was done well. Like when Ruby's healing herself, looked really good. Or when the hand comes out of the muck after they burn them all, looked really good. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that. I thought it was not like overly crappy digital effects. It looked good, I think, because it was done 2 years ago. It should look good, but it looked solid. The blood was great. I like the use. I like the off the counter heel of Ryan Torres' costume, the Skull Killer. I dug that. I thought it was cool. So yeah, this is a 25 for me all day.
Yeah, that's good.
I can't see a reason to even. The sets look great. It looked like a 90s mall. 100% 90s mall, like to the point where I was sad and reminiscent.
And their clothes were perfect. Their clothes were great.
Well, it kind of helped them when they made it though, because that's like for the last couple of years, 90s have kind of been like the style of the kids. Yeah. So like you look at it, just gone to an H&M and bought a bunch of clothes and slapped them on these kids.
Mm-hmm.
but it looked very much like what kids in the 90s wore, even the little weird kids, you know what I mean? So I really liked it. I like some of the funny nods too, like with the teams and just the whole feel of it and how you knew one side was different just based on how they look. And it was even like from down to being like different, almost different races. So it was almost like the poor non-white people live in Shadyside and they're the ones getting crapped on. And all the affluent people live in Sunnyvale or Sunnydale or
Yeah.
whatever it was. So I like that. It's Sunnyvale, right?
Yeah.
Sunnydale's from Buffy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. I said that out loud. I
That's
was
why
like,
I
hold
was
up.
kind of snickering.
Yeah, one of those is from Buffy. All right. So the visual technical element, so the overall aesthetic of the film is pleasing to the eye. Lighting, creative camera shots, and movement and lens selection. It's also really good. Like I really like
Yeah.
how he shoots Stranger Things. And I think this is very, I mean, it's the same guy. So his fingerprints are there. It has
Oh
that
yeah, because
90s look.
that scene I was telling you about where they at the beginning, I said I'd get to it later, but they were all lined up against the wall and he like pans across all of them like standing really still. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's exactly that scene from Stranger Things where they're all like waiting for Dustin to get home.
Yeah. Just sitting
And
there.
they like pans through all of them. I was like, that is a Stranger Things shot.
Mm-hmm. I like a lot of the
They're
choices,
like,
man. Like the bathroom scene with the killers, and they're shot from inside the stalls, and you see them like in sequence, each one kick open the door,
mm-hmm,
and then it cuts to Nightwing Killer's perspective when he kills that dummy, like the blow up doll or whatever, with the bloody handprint. And I thought that was pretty
mm-hmm.
interesting how they did that. It was really cool. And like you said, the grocery store scenes are really good, like how they show her head being shoved into that thing and how it was shot and the angles, and like it was just really cool. The jump of
And like the
perspectives.
vigil was
Yeah.
like shot from above, and all you see is like a bunch of students holding candles and
Yeah. It was done really well. That's another pretty solid points for me. I think that's a 25, 20,
yeah.
25. What do you think?
25 is good. I mean, I think all the effects and the camera shots were really well done. So
Yeah, I thought it was solid. I can't find a lot of fault in most of it. All right, on to your favorite element, apparently. The sound element. The sound represents the overall tone of the film. The soundtrack, as well as the score, keeps the audience engaged with the setting, characters, location, narrative of the place. And I know I shit on it earlier, but it really does like fit the
it is
tone.
90s.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
they picked every quintessential 90s song.
Well, here's the thing though. Typically, because remember we've talked about this. Sometimes even though the music was used, there's no purpose behind it. There
Yeah.
was legit purpose behind the song choices that were put in there. So, like, I can connect, like when they play Creep, even like, come on, it's perfect because they're all like teenage like dirt bags, you know. Like it's not
Yeah.
like they picked really gritty songs, and then Machine Head plays at one point, and like that was perfectly placed. Like it, and then the score was really it was done really well. And I even like went as far as to so the movie starts with Closer,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was perfect. It was a perfect choice to start the movie with. And then it kind of gets cut off by the phone ringing, which is a nod to Scream.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all starts or whatever, that whole scene or whatever. I thought that was cool. I thought the suspenseful music through the bookstore while she's like trying to like close up and like all the book, like every once in a while, like a book would fall and she'd be like, the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And so it's like very suspenseful. But and yeah, and the soundtrack was like whoever chose the songs did a really just great job. And then like just in general, just that score that provided all the suspense was really good. I think they did a really good job and it was well thought out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I wish there was a little bit more score and less reliance on the music. I do think the music fit really well, but I like the scores. That's all reason why I want more. I think the person who scored it did a good job. And I think some of that suspense
Mhm.
music would have fit better. But I like the change up in music. I thought was cool how it goes from like rap to metal to like, like Lilith Fair style feeling, like for all their character vibes, you know what I mean? Which I really like how Kate is listening to Snoop Dogg and then with those kids. And then Josh is like listening to Iron Maiden and Rob Zombie. You know what I mean? And like, it kind of fit their, everyone had their own music, their own characterization, which I liked. It was solid. Maybe a solid 20 for me, I think.
Yeah.
Because it was good. I mean, I'm not even going to take any points away for the time period because I don't really care about that. It doesn't matter. The songs fit the characters. They were done really well. I wish there was a little bit more score and not so much reliance on the songs for those characters because you didn't need it all the time. It did fit when they used it. Like I said earlier, the beginning is almost like ADHD. But every character had their own kind of music, and they introduced them like back to back to back to back to back, and it just seems like a lot. We could have had like a nice little score change in there because the score, like you said, is good. The original stuff I think is fits. Like that mall suspense song is really good, and I do enjoy that. That is probably my favorite part, even though it's straight from Scream, because those characters look like Nine Inch Nails would be a band they were into in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like that. Yeah, you like Nine Inch Nails, and then all of a sudden it was like phone call, and I like that. I thought it was cool. It's like cool playing. God, you're scaring me. It's ridiculous, but yeah, it was solid. So I'm thinking like a 20. What do you think?
Yeah, 20's good.
So we just gave Fear Street 94 a solid 90.
I think it's deserving.
I mean, it would have been cooler if you got 94, dog. Been funny. It was
but
possible.
Our rubric doesn't allow us to do that.
Oh, it'd be funny. What if the next one gets something in the 70s and then the last one gets a 60? That would just be funny.
Okay, well, the second one's not going to get something in the 70s. I can tell you that.
I feel like they're all going to score probably about 90. I think I'm going to have the same things to say. The third one, man, I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. But there you go. Fear Street 1994. Good film, even though like I had some critiques. I critique everything, so it's just what I do. But
he just hates Dina. It's
Dina
fine.
sucks. She sucks as a character. I'd have Spartan kicked her in the chest, but if I was Simon, I'd have punched her in the face. Kate's a good character. She grows on me. Josh is great because he reminds me of myself. That was pretty much me. I'm gonna go in here in this chat room and talk to these people who think they're vampires and listen to Rob Zombie. That was my 90s. So Josh was me. So I like that. I don't want to talk to that girl. I'd rather just talk to this girl in this chat room. It's probably a dude named Chuck. Whatever. Go. Leave me alone.
Stupid.
It's truth, man. It's truth. I wasn't as cool as I am now, I guess. But
is that right?
Yeah. Shut up. I'm cool. But yeah, solid film. Love it. Anything else you want to add?
No.
All right, dude. Why don't you tell them where they can find us?
Okay. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Horror in the Halls. You can also follow Jenny_Dreadfuls on Instagram. You can email us at horrorinthehalls@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, guys, reach out. Let us know what you think. If you agree, disagree, we'd love to hear from, people who listen to us other than Crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Although we'd like to hear from Crystal too. Or, anyone else would be cool too. Tell us your opinion. God, I hate the show. Or God, I love this episode. Or man, this movie sucked. That's fine. Let's talk about it because I love that.
Bob needs to stop complaining about Dina.
Or maybe Dina should be a better written character. Shut up. Go.
Not all characters have to be fully developed, stupid.
If you're the main character, you should be a little more developed. She's the main character. Now, if Josh was the main character, this would be a solid 100%. Dina
there has to be a flat character in there. There's a main character of a movie, and his name is Captain America, and he's the flattest of flat character ever.
100%. If we were critiquing that movie, I would knock him too. He's blit, 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 blit.
He's the main character, and a lot of people love him, but he's flat.
Well, yeah, because he's like a Boy Scout. He's like Superman, also flat. He has no development at all.
There's no changing. No, none. Absolutely none.
No, he's rigid. That's the point of his character. Dina just sucks.
And that's her. She's selfish she's selfish and is stupid.
All I gotta say is, if I was Simon, I'd have kicked her in the chest. That's it.
Simon, why not Josh?
Because Josh was her brother, and he's going to try to side with her because it's his big sister. Simon should be like, all three of y'all can get chopped up by the killers. I'm out. He had no reason to be there.
They had the opportunity, and they did not take it.
It's because they're stupid.
I'm done.
It's because they're stupid. All right, guys. Definitely check this movie out. Give us a like, give us a follow, leave a review, let us know what you think. And yeah, that's going to be the bell. We're going to get out of here.
Bye.